Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Omnipresent Information Connection. My name's Noah Hansen, here again with Kevin Peterson. And Kevin, you've mastered this topic of today's podcast, which is the 5 elements of wholeness. And these 5 elements are the next hand following the 5 points: teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding, covered on the last 3 podcasts. So if you haven't listened to those 3 podcasts, listeners, it's a great foundation to this episode. But I'm really looking forward to discussing with you, Kevin, these 5 new elements that allow one to find wholeness within themselves.
Yes, and thank you, Noah. So
you're welcome.
So now getting into these 5 elements, I'm going to paint a picture in your mind for you to be easily to see where I'm going.
Get your mental canvases ready.
Right? So envision you just graduated from college.
Never been there, but I'll envision it.
All right. Some people have, some people haven't, right?
You have.
Yes. So now you're graduated from college. You actually have a degree in something, right?
Exciting.
It's very exciting. But it doesn't mean that you actually have mastery over it.
Right. A degree just means you've taken the courses and passed them. You could have cheated. You could have done anything, to get through those. But hopefully you learned a thing or two.
Yes.
And that course, those courses in college, is the teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding in this analogy.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the 5 elements that I'm going to be speaking about today are: 1, application of your knowledge. 2nd, trial and error correcting. 3rd is the surrounding of like-minded people doing what you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
4th is opportunities abound you. New doors will become open to you. And the last one is becoming your authentic self in life in every way. So now, let me take you on a gentle walk through the first one. So number 1, apply what you know. When you get done graduating from college, you then have to be able to reflect back on all the years of the education that you had getting to that point. So this stage is the application stage in a job wherever you work, right?
Right, a job, career, even a hobby.
Right. Upon graduating college, I was not told, I was not taught, I was not instructed, I was not informed on how to properly apply the information that I learned. I had a college degree. I then became a number in a numerous cycle of resumes. I was getting lost in the system of finding just over broke opportunities that I really wanted as far as a job. And there was no mentor, no coach, no one there to really guide me to be able to apply what I knew. So I would be looking for jobs in that field that I got the degree in. I would go to that job, and the person that hired me had an unspoken expectation as if though I had mastery over it. And I didn't. So through being able to apply what I was knowing came the next step so naturally was now number 2, trial and error correcting. I had to literally be able to see what worked, what didn't work, and why it didn't work. Anytime that you're correcting yourself will be in the power of 3s as well, right? Because it's positive momentum moving forward. Anything positive is in 3s. Anything difficult is 5 or more, right? And we've explained this in previous podcasts. So now you're applying what you know to the best of your ability. Without a mentor, without a coach, without someone to be able to teach, train, motivate, direct, and guide you now on how to apply that information, a lot of it becomes trial and error and correcting. And so most people try to wing it versus being able to journal it into perfection. And here's what I mean. Most people don't understand the power of journaling. They don't understand that sometimes you have to do a pros and cons list of what's working, what's not working, and troubleshooting, right? A good mechanic will be able to examine many different parts on a car to be able to see which part is actually malfunctioning, right? So put a picture in your mind of now you are a mechanic, whether you are one or not. You now see many different engine parts around you. Other parts move other parts to be able to make other parts move. Pretty simple, straightforward. But the amount of pressure, the amount of power, and the amount of velocity that it takes to be able to move these parts cause wear and tear. So a good mechanic would be able to recognize and be able to see through trial and error correcting what's working, what's not working, and why. Power 3. So in the trial and error correcting stage, you've got to be able to see if the engine's ticking and what's causing it. Is it the lifter? Is it the cylinder? There's something that's causing the ticking. So in life, I call it a ticking time bomb because some people absolutely freeze up at this stage of the trial and error correcting because they don't have the confidence, they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the inner strength or the ability to want to really examine what it is that they're not doing right and correct it. So without taking a hard, deep dive look into what in your environment is working and what's not working, you end up having Groundhog's Day every day. You're not quite there. You're not quite there yet. You're not quite there yet. And it seems like you're in this endless loop of going nowhere fast. Has anyone else been there? Yeah, we all have, right? That's the trial and error correcting stage. But at some point, somewhere in your life, you're going to take these corrections seriously. You're either going to jot them down or to be able to physically apply them as often as you possibly can to be able to not make the same mistakes over and over and over again, right? So that's stage number 2. Number 3 is surround yourself with those who are doing what you are wanting to become. Because right now, even though you have a degree, even though you're doing that field of work, you're not actually it yet. You're just an employee in a clogged up wheel that you are just trying to be able to keep balanced with everyone else doing the same exact thing. I call it a hamster wheel because someone with very limited knowledge, very limited insight can be able to get on a contraption and have it be able to spin, but not know exactly why it's spinning, how many revolutions it is, and how fast it's actually going, right?
So what's the significance of those 3 things?
The value and the impact to this is that when you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people, when you are then being able to see for yourself how they're doing it and the process for which they're doing it, and then the results that they get from doing it, you then bring forth all 3 of these into your then practice to become it, right? And the more that you do these 3 steps, You're visualizing and seeing what someone else is doing. You then want to be able to apply it in your own way of business practice, right? And then you're being able to see them having success in doing it. So then you want to be able to then bring other people into the fold to be able to create a level of success that they're teaching you, right? Does that make sense?
No, it does. The 3 points that we've discussed so far on this podcast seem to be like there's no definitive line. I mean, there potentially could be in a different situation, but it seems, while we're explaining it kind of broadly, that these 3 could mesh. You could surround yourself with the people who are who you want to be at the same time as you're still making corrections in order to have them teach you how they've failed and overcome their failures so that you don't have to go through the same thing. I think that's a positive practice.
Yes. And so, in clarifying, is that when you surround yourself with those who are doing what you're wanting to become, you're then applying what you know from them. You're seeing the trial and error correcting systems that they have in place so that the end outcome becomes a positive outcome and a goal achieved.
Right. So we need to make, for the second step, trial and error, there needs to be a journaling practice in there, even if it's like a work journal or a failure and success journal where you log your failures and your successes so that you can see on paper, not just in, floating around in your head where it may not go anywhere, but on paper where you can see it and refer to it, how you failed and how you've come up with solutions.
Right. And keep this in mind. Every time you fail, you succeed.
Only with the right perspective.
And the right why.
The right why? For failing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Why did I fail?
Right.
Because I failed to be able to implement or do something that caused that result, right?
Gotcha.
So knowing the why is very important.
Right.
Because it helps you then to get to the Y and Z, right?
Yes. Yeah, we've talked about this in previous podcasts where if you fail and you're in a woe is me mindset, that's another failure that you're just adding to the mix. And it can put you in a pit of failure that's very hard to climb out of for some people.
Yeah.
And, many people suffer from depression and things that are more chronic. Not exactly what I'm talking about here. What I mean here is that when you're getting so hung up on your failures, but you're not looking or examining them, you're just allowing their energies to breach your inner sanctum, your inner peace, and do its work on you.
Right.
So you don't want to be in that woe is me stage. It's something that we all go through, something that a lot of people have to deal with at some point or another along their life. But you have to understand that recognizing this is the first step to overcoming it. So recognize when you're being woe is me, so that you can then immediately jot it down. I failed at this today. Here are some potential solutions. 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
Just implement them next time.
Yeah, and that's a powerful second stage is in the trial and error correcting.
Right, exactly.
So getting back to number 3, surround yourself with those who are doing what you're wanting to become. You will start to be able to see for yourself in action your whys. You'll start to be able to see why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and when they're doing it for them to get the action, reaction, and the result that they're needing in their everyday practice. It's so important to be able to take notes, to be able to study, to be able to read books, to be able to listen to audiobooks, to be able to completely filtrate your entire being with whatever it is that you got a degree in so that you can be able to have self-mastery of yourself. Because the greatest example is a self-example. The greatest example is a self-example, right? So it's nice to be able to see other people doing it. But a lot of people go, man, I would love to be in that position. Love to be in that situation, without taking the needed steps to get there. Right? They get so hung up on just watching and observing and what I call awe-gazing that they kind of lose themselves in that too, right?
Mm-hmm. And some people are happy with that. But hey, in order to reach, the goals that you actually have in life, some change has to be made, at some point.
Yes. So, to be able to bring back 1, 2, and 3, apply what you know. Make the needed trial and error corrections that you need in your daily life. Surround yourself with the right people that are actually creating the results that you're wanting to receive. Then from there, new opportunities, new doors of opportunities, new ways of doing things will then become revealed to you.
Doing things in a new way.
Mm-hmm. In an evolutionary kind of visionary stage in your life, allowing you to be able to adopt them into your own personal practice, to be able to make them another element as to not only who you are, but on how you do what you do that makes you you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something here, and it might be a little bit challenging to some people. We all have dreams, goals, and visions in life, and we all have things that we want to be able to accomplish. We all have different character flaws that we see in ourselves that we wish were different. But here's the thing. When, for just one example, you are spending a large chunk of time at a job, and it's not leading to a career that you feel authentically fulfilled in. If you're spending a large chunk of time doing anything that isn't leading to a fulfilling conclusion, and you're going home from this job and you're all worn out and you're tired and you just either want to go to sleep or, do some form of entertainment, things to entertain you, and then go to sleep after that. Where is the forward momentum in this? The forward momentum, if there is any, is occurring in that job that you're spending a large chunk of time in. Now, that type of forward momentum, though it is positive, it's still not leading to the conclusion that you are willing to happen in your life. So this is the challenging part, is that when you're not implementing these techniques that we've talked about on the last 3 podcasts and on this podcast, in your off time, in times when it may not be the funnest choice to go about, but it is building your character, building yourself as a person, that's what needs to happen in order to become the person that we're talking about, a whole and complete person, like on this podcast, what we're talking about. So to become your best self, if you are motivated to get there, if there's no change being made in your off time, then there's really no progress towards that goal. Your off time is where that goal is met. It's where you're taking the extra step instead of just doing it while you're getting paid for it. You know what I mean? So for some people, relationships is a huge part of the whole and complete picture of a person that they want to become. So if you're not taking any time to call your parents, call your grandparents, call these people who will help you to be a fulfilled individual, then you may have a great relationship with them, but it's not going anywhere. It's not moving forward. It's not reaching other new levels of fulfillment for you and them. It is challenging, but it's the most fulfilling step you can take, is sacrificing your own entertainment time or your own, downtime to actually build yourself up as a person.
Absolutely. So, number 4 is new doors will become open to you. When I got my degree, I was able to then see that I had other different options within that opportunity to be the authentic me. It wasn't until I made a life choice that instead of just being a host of my destiny, I actually became the guest in my reality to be able to manifest the outcome that I have chosen, right?
So what you're saying is when you stepped into the post-college opportunity when you stepped into, let's say for any type of example, a career having to do with the degree that you just earned.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are more clients popping out. There's more opportunities to progress in that field that were not available to you while you were still in college.
And without my degree.
And previous to having the degree and the opportunity that you stepped into.
Right.
So there's an umbrella opportunity that was already made known to you. And then there's smaller opportunities. Once you take the steps of trial and error and surrounding yourself with other people who are already there, then that's where more opportunities come in. That makes sense. And if you think about it deeply, listeners, it can make sense in many other things besides just a career. So opportunity of having a greater relationship with your family. What could come of that? There could be other people who you have surrounded yourself with that have relationships with their families. And because you know these people now, you can see how they interact with their family. Maybe they play a board game, every Friday or something like that. So you can try that out with your family. See how that is able to build your relationships. Another example, not having to do with family or career. If you're simply doing your best to master the guitar and you surround yourself with people who have already mastered the guitar, and you've gone through trial and error periods on the guitar, more opportunities will then come into your life because you'll see new ways of practicing that you didn't learn, in the initial stage of learning the guitar. You'll find quicker ways of finding that muscle memory and all sorts of things.
For an example, when I got my life coaching degree, is that I saw that there was many different titles that I could entitle myself as in becoming more than just a coach.
Right, there's different niches that you could focus on, different clientele that you can focus on.
So with that being said, is that if you were to have only focused on one particular style or one particular way of doing something, and you were not open-minded to be able to see other opportunities that await you, then you would get stuck in the opportunity that became you. Because you only picked one thing, right? You didn't branch off anywhere in life. You just stayed tried and true to just that, right?
Right. It's important to understand that you can gain mastery. It's good to gain mastery in one specific thing, but if you're not taking the opportunities, then who knows where you could have been,
Correct.
In retrospect.
Yeah. So that's number 4. Number 5 is the most critical and most important out of all of it, and that's becoming your authentic self in life. So you start off teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding people. From there, you then applied what you knew, went through the trial and error correcting phase or stage in life. You then surround yourself with like-minded people. Then new opportunities arose within the field or the chosen career that you have decided to go down. And now, with all that, it becomes the last stage of becoming your authentic self in life. This stage is so critical, so important, that whether you got paid to be able to do it or not, it just resonates. It is you. It's everything about you. Everything about what you say, what you do, how you say it, how you do it, how you live it, how you talk about it. It becomes instead of a personal obsession, it just becomes a personal point of character, so that eventually people don't know you any other way than your authentic self in whatever line of work that you chose to be able to do. When looking at a truck driver, you can clearly see that many people are truck drivers. When you see that people are electricians, it's like we all don a uniform. We all kind of don a stance, a structure, a mannerism that resonates with whatever the field is, right? And so I didn't want to just go male career here, but what I'm saying is, for the female audience, is that it's important that when you're looking and people watching, you can almost be able to detect what career that they're actually in by how they hold themselves, how their mannerisms are, what they do, what they wear, how they wear it, all these different elements, right?
Right.
But the most beautiful thing is that when you get to be able to get to the fifth stage and be your most authentic self, you get to be able to be free of being anything else but that. Because society wants to put you in this box. Society wants to put you in this bubble. Society wants to be able to put you in a containment space or a containment area that they feel comfortable or confident of you being in,
right?
Whether you're comfortable or confident or not in being in it. And so when you become your authentic self, the struggle is almost over. And here's what I'm saying, is that you no longer have to reinvent the wheel. You no longer have to be able to try to be somebody. You actually are the living physical example of it, whatever it is that you chose to be able to do for a career or profession, or to be able to not have a career or profession at all and just be you, right?
Right. I want to bring a little bit of the Bible into this now, specifically the Lord Jesus. When he interacted with people, he didn't interact trying to uphold his position as a rabbi. He didn't interact with people trying to uphold even his position as Messiah.
Correct.
He didn't try to do anything. He just was. And he was a rabbi. He was a Messiah. But more importantly, he was the Son of God. Imagine if he, when he was approached by Pharisees in the temple, if he just cowarded because he knew that their stance in society was higher than his own. So if he just cowered and, backed down, how many lessons wouldn't have been learned? How many people wouldn't have been saved in that situation? It's important to know that your authentic self has power that is far-reaching.
Right.
Jesus, his authentic self, reached the whole world for thousands of years now.
Right.
So when you discover what authenticity is, and I think Jesus is a great example of the human element of authenticity in any case, male or female too, that if you are an authentic person, there's certain characteristics that you'll find within yourself that just completely banish and rebuke false pretenses, false beliefs, weaknesses that aren't necessary anymore. And that's a pretty amazing thing, a great thing to strive for.
Yes.
So Jesus, great example of who to learn from in order to reach that point.
Amen. So becoming your authentic self in life is very critical and important. A lot of people are so stuck on the apply what you know stage and phase of life.
Yes.
That they don't take a gentle walk and a journey in a new way to be able to really sincerely get over the trials and errors of correcting whatever mistakes they made.
Right.
To be able to cower away from people that are living their dreams instead of being able to become friends with them or acquaintances with them or be connected to them. They just kind of admire them from afar, right?
Right. And applying what you know, you can just be in a constant loop of that. Imagine you're painting your house and you just reapply, and you never get a complete painted house, even though it was good enough.
Right.
You just wanted to keep reapplying.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to be able to learn knowledge and information and just keep applying it to one spot.
And instead of, becoming the painter who has mastery over that technique, you're constantly feeling like you need more. So that's why you keep reapplying. Even though it's working, you keep reapplying it. And that's why, becoming your authentic self, there's still learning and application. Jesus still learned as a human. But when you are your authentic self, that learning and application, you already know the steps to do that in a more perfect way. You already know the steps to trial and error in a more perfect way.
In all things in life, in these 5 elements, apply what you know, trial and error correcting, surround yourself with the right people. When you surround yourself with the right people, new doors will become open to you. New opportunities will become open to you. You can be able to take advantage of them if you wish, if you desire. And then through that open door policy that you have allowed to have in your life is that you then come into the 5th and final stage of being so authentic of who you are and knowing your place, knowing your position, knowing what you can and cannot do, that you become so comfortable and so at peace with being whatever it is that you decide to become, that people just auto resonate with you because they see that you are not just playing around or just kidding with the career or the job that you have applied for, right? They're actually just absolutely living their best life in whatever it is that they chose to do. So, in conclusion, being 100% authentic, being the example setter, being the go-to person, being the person of confidence, and using your charisma and your wherewithal to be able to live a life worth living is very rewarding. It's very fulfilling. It's very life-enhancing in every way. Because when I get up every morning, not only am I thankful that I don't have to try, that I don't have to be able to study, that I don't have to research, to be able to learn, to be able to know, to become what I am today, I can just be me. And when you get the fight out of your system at being your most authentic self, you become so much closer to being whole and complete as a person. But we fight, and we fight each and every day internally because of the programming on TV, due to the channeling that goes on in radio, and through the word of mouth conversations with other people that are not living your dreams. They don't want you there. They don't want to separate you from them. They want you to be right, nice, comfortable, being in absolutely nothing with them, versus being able to be with the right people, being able to be empowered and inspired and uplifted, and actually having people rise past the person that got you there in the first place, to be able to then to be this great boss or this great CEO or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And if it's the right person, they're still going to value you even if you surpass them, because they are so whole and complete as a person that they're just happy that you have moved forward in life to be able to claim other opportunities that are called positions in life to then enhance other people.
Right, and I think that's a big fear in a lot of people's lives is, if I surpass these people, they're no longer going to be an acquaintance, a friend, or a person in my life. That's a big fear for a lot of people. But understand that it's just an opportunity. It's another opportunity that if you truly care about this person that you've now been able to learn from, then you can show your thankfulness to that person for being a factor, a variable in your success. And it becomes an opportunity for you to be a teacher, trainer, motivator, director, and guide to them now.
Yes.
Otherwise, if they're not accepting of that position, then obviously that's a step aside for now type of situation. Mm-hmm. Because it's no longer necessary when you're authentic to be able to let people hold you down. That's what the rabbis were trying to do to Jesus.
So, to be able to wrap this whole thing up, we started off with teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding you in a new way to be able to get you where you need to be today. To then to be able to, in every way, include these other 5 elements. You got to be able to know what you know that you know. You need to be able to have the trials and errors to be able to perfect what you know and how you know it. To be able to then to be able to have people surround you that are actually living your dreams so they can be able to empower you, to inspire you, to be able to motivate you in every fathomable, imaginable way, to then have new doors of opportunity arise for you to be able to go into multiple different directions in that career field if you so wish to. And then most importantly is that you have full control, full destiny, full empowerment over your life in every way, that instead of someone calling you by name, they literally see you as what you truly are. Whether for me it's like a pastor or a life coach, and for other people it's whatever title or entitlement that they have chosen, right? It's such a beautiful thing to be able to clearly see without question that this person is who they say they are. Mm-hmm. And then want to follow them. That's why Jesus was so important in being on earth, to be a quiet example setter. He never was overly boisterous except for making the errors and corrections in human beings, and he then had to be able to then physically do things and verbally say things to be able to get people's attention. But moreover than anything else is that no one ever had to question his integrity. That he is who he was, because he is still, to this day, exactly that. The
Amen.
Savior of humanity.
Hallelujah.
So there is no better example setter than Jesus Christ. So if you're wanting to be able to teach, train, motivate, direct, and guide other people, learn from some of the greatest mentors in the world, starting with your own ancestral father, Jesus Christ. From there, then you can be able to then pinpoint Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Norman Vincent Peale, and the list goes on and on and on and on of great mentors, great teachers, great leaders that actually created such a change in the way that we view things, see things, and do things, that we now subconsciously, subliminally, don't even recognize and realize the power of their teachings, because we are already implementing it whether we like to or not. If you knew where half of these things came from, you would then recognize who it came from in the first place. So it's important to be able to have a mentor, a coach, a guide, someone that authentically can be able to move you in the direction of your dreams versus your nightmares. Someone that can awaken an all-spark within you that gets you so fired up, so empowered, so inspired to be able to live another day that they can hardly sleep at night. If you don't have that type of person in your life, not only are you lying to yourself, but you're lying to everyone you're talking to.
Don't want that.
So, in order to be able to change, you have to be the change agent.
The changeant.
So, be the best you can be, and all the right people in the world will love you because of it.
Amen. Thank you for that wonderful conclusion, Kevin. And thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode of Omnipresent Information Connection. We will meet you on the next podcast.
This has been another life-enhancing, authenticated podcast aired by the OIC and brought to you by the faithful OIC sponsors and contributors. Please tune in every week and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, explore our website with all the posts, videos, and podcasts that we have created with you in mind. While you're on the journey through our website, you will see our Patreon page where you can become a faithful contributor yourself with the freedom to be a part of our team today. Thank you.